Om Ajnana Timanasya Snanjanasnakaya Sakshan Militam Vena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Sitchitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutadam Shyamapakadamam Dadati Svapadantika Vandeham Shivu Shiyuda Padakamanam Shikam Vaishnavam Sam Shirupam Sagajatam Sakanarahanatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savutam Parjana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sakanadita Shri Krishna Vitam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindadina Bandha Jatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavana Sutta Devi Pranamama Haripriye Vanka Kalpa Visha Kripa Sinve Visha Patnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachani Desatayani Hare Krishna. I'm very happy to be with you this evening. And this evening we will speak on an important aspect of devotional service. So, does anyone say me what's the purpose of the Bhagvat Gita? What is the purpose? Everyone knows Bhagvat Gita. Yeah? What is the purpose of Bhagvat Gita? Nobody knows? Tricky question.
Inaction to action.
Inaction.
To action.
From inaction to action. Okay. That other proposals?
Materially, it teaches us how to live this life, what are the prescribed duties, and spiritually, it teaches the dharma of the soul.
Yeah. So it teaches us our material svadharma, how to do our duties in this world, and it teaches the spiritual svadharma, the natural occupation of the spirit soul. Good. Other ideas? Why Bhagavad Gita?
How to surrender.
How to surrender to Krishna. Yeah. There is one verse in Bhagavad Gita, and the purport starts with Prabhupada saying, "This is the purpose of Bhagavad Gita." It is not that verse. Should I read it? Yeah. So in the Prabhupada starts, this verse clearly indicates the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. So we will learn now the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. It's in the 3rd chapter, verse 30. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Reading from the Bhagvat Gita, chapter 3, Karma Yoga, text 30. Mayi sarvani karmani sanyasyadhyatma setasa nirasir nirmamo bhutva yutyasva viratasvara. Mayi sarvani karmani sanyasyatma setasa nirasir nirmamo bhutva yutyasva viratasvara. Mayi sarvani karmani sanyasyatma setasa nirasir nirmamo bhutva yutyasva viratasvara. Word for word translation. Mayi, unto me. Who is me? Krishna. Okay. Sarvani, all sorts. Sorry, all sorts of. Karmani, activities. Sanyasya, giving up completely. Adhyatma, with full knowledge of the self. Cetasa, by consciousness. Nirasi, without desire for profit. Nirmama, without ownership. Bhutva, so being. Yutyasva, fight. Viratasvara, without being lethargic. Translation and purport by Abhayacharnavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me, with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight. Please repeat. Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me, with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight. So we have, in the beginning, someone said, Bhagvat Gita is teaching us how to do our prescribed duties in this world and how to do our spiritual duties. Prescribed duties is acting with the body, mind, senses, and so on. That's materially. But this verse explains how to act as spirit soul. We are the spirit soul, not the body. So if we act as being the body, what is this called? Illusion. It's madness. So Krishna is explaining in this verse how to act as a spirit soul. With the consciousness of a spirit soul, the consciousness comes from the spirit soul. With spiritual consciousness, And what must one do to act spiritually? That it says, you have to work for me. That's the first thing. You act for Krishna. Krishna is the goal, otherwise it's not spiritual. And the second thing he says, nirasir, without desire for profit. When we act for profit in this world, is this profit for the body or the soul?
Body.
It's for the body. That's material. So we, from the moment we act for profit, we are acting as a body. So we must act for the profit of Krishna, that giving pleasure to Krishna. Otherwise we act materially. This is an important verse, it's the purpose of Bhagvat Gita. How to act every moment spiritually. That if we act materially, we get karma, we suffer, we take birth, death, old age and disease. We have to take that very serious if we want spiritual life. Otherwise there is no progress. It's a nirasir, a nirmama. It's a nirmama. What does that mean, nirmama? Without thinking myself the proprietor. Thinking the proprietor of something in this world is just an idea. We think this is our body. But it's even not our body. That it's Krishna's energy, it's not ours. It's not our land. That it's not our house. Soon we leave the body, and who is then the owner? The dead body? It doesn't make sense. This is illusion, that's a daydream. You have to come out of this daydream and learn to act as a spirit soul. Is it now clear why this verse is the purpose of Bhagavad Gita? It teaches us how to act as a spirit soul, not a body. Let's hear Prabhupada's purpose. This verse clearly indicates the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord instructs that one has to become fully Krishna conscious to discharge duties as if in military discipline. Such an injunction may make things a little difficult. Nevertheless, duties must be carried out with dependence on Krishna, because he is the constitutional position of the living entity. The living entity cannot be happy, independent of the cooperation of the Supreme Lord, because the eternal constitutional position of the living entity is to become subordinate to the desires of the Lord. Arjuna is therefore ordered by Sri Krishna to fight as if the Lord were his military commander. One has to sacrifice everything for the goodwill of the Supreme Lord, and at the same time discharge prescribed duties without claiming proprietorship. Arjuna did not have to consider the order of the Lord. He had only to execute his order. The Supreme Lord is the soul of all souls. Therefore, one who depends solely and wholly on the Supreme Soul without personal consideration, or in other words, one who is fully conscious, is called Adhyatma Sheta. Nirasimi means that one has to act on the order of the Master, but should not expect fruitive results. The cashier may count millions of dollars for his employer, but he does not claim a cent for himself. Similarly, one has to realize that nothing in the world belongs to any individual person, but that everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. That is the real purport of Mai, unto me. And when one acts in Krishna consciousness, certainly he does not claim proprietorship over anything. This consciousness is called nirmama, or nothing is mine. And if there is any reluctance to execute such stern order, which is without consideration of so-called kinsmen, in the body relationship, that reluctance should be thrown off. In this way, one may become vigatashvar, or without feverish mentality or lethargy. Anyone, according to his quality and position, has a particular type of work to discharge, and all such duties may be discharged in Krishna consciousness, as described above. That will lead one to the path of liberation. So, yes, that without acting, without thinking oneself the proprietor, and not acting for profit, but for the profit of the Supreme Lord, to please the Supreme Lord. That means one does one work for Krishna without thinking oneself the proprietor, or thinking or wanting some benefit from the work, material benefit. And that, but that is not so simple. That because we have so many material desires. Any material desires is desires related or desires for the profit of the body, the mind, the intelligence, to get some satisfaction for things in this world. And that's very strong. Therefore, Krishna says a little further, there are two obstacles to acting as a spirit soul. What are these two obstacles? Paripantina in Sanskrit. Obstacles. Yeah? That, yes, but why is this aham mameti there? What causes that? What are the obstacles we need to overcome to get rid of that? Krishna explains in a few verses further.
We are having difficulty to identify ourselves as a soul due to ego.
Yeah, due to these obstacles we have difficulty to identify ourselves of the soul. But what are the obstacles? Krishna said there are two obstacles, Arjuna, very difficult to overcome. You must overcome them. You should not come under control of these two obstacles.
Lust and greed.
That is a step further. That raga and dvesha, attachment and aversion. In our mind we like things. I like this, I don't like that. I like this because it gives me pleasure. It gives me mental pleasure. It gives pleasure to my senses. I like it. Or that's raga. And dvesha, I don't like that. It gives me pain. And that's what we are doing in this world constantly. We want to get that what gives pleasure to the body and the mind. It's called happiness. And we want to get rid of that what gives us pain. A person who gives us happiness for the senses and so on, we say it's our well-wisher. This is our friend. But this person it gives me only pain. That it's not my well-wisher. It does not cooperate with my plans for my happiness. It's my enemy. Did someone read the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam here? Who read the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam? 1, 2? Not many. Last week we had meeting at Chaturdashi. There you have Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj was taught by 2 teachers in the school. Someone knows their names? Sanda and Amarka, yeah. And Prahlad did not like their teachings. Why?
Because they were teaching geography, social science, materialistic education.
Yeah, they were teaching especially to rule and divide. They were teaching diplomacy. And why did Prahlad not like it? It's clear in the verses. It's also, he says later to his father why he does not like it. He explains it also to his schoolmates why he does not like it. Well, it's good to read the Bhagavad.
Because it takes you away from the spiritual life and the real meaning, purpose of life.
The answer is simple.
Attachment, they increase attachment.
Yeah. Prahlad did not like the division between friends and enemies. That's the point. We make friends in this world because they give us pleasure. Pleasure in relationship, pleasure in this, pleasure in that. And those who are not agreeing with our plans are enemies. And if one has friends and enemies, then one cannot progress in spiritual life. Attachment and aversion. One has an enemy and one starts to hate that person. And the whole consciousness becomes fixed on it. So many things you are disturbing, attachment and aversion, raga and dvesh. You start to chant Hare Krishna and your mind does not meditate on Krishna, but all this attachment and aversion comes in your mind. And your heart is closed for Krishna. Does anyone understand that? A very important point. If you want to make progress in spiritual life, you must give up this attachment and aversion. According to Bhagvat Gita, we are all part and parcels of Krishna. And means if we want to love Krishna, we must also love his part and parcels. We can try to love Krishna, but if we don't love Krishna Das, but hate him, then we are not going back to the spiritual world. It's not going to happen. Because this attachment and aversion is factually an illusion based on the body. It's just an illusion. Nobody is our enemy really in this world. And nobody is our friend either. Because soon you are out of the body. Where is your friendship? You go to the next life, new friends. All temporary friends. Temporary friends are not real friends. Real friend Your only real friend is Krishna, is in your heart. If we want to come in contact with Krishna, Krishna says you must give up this attachment and aversion. And what is the greatest attachment and aversion? In 334, Prabhupada explains in the purport. Someone knows? The greatest attachment or force of attachment in this world.
Body.
Hmm?
Body.
No. It's sexual attraction. Prabhupada writes in the purport, the sexual attraction must be regulated. Regulated. It means, and what is the regulation for sexual attraction is marriage. But Prabhupada writes, even in that regulation, it's dangerous. A man may be attracted also to other women than his own wife, and vice versa also. But that should be curbed, controlled. So we see attachment and aversion. You find on all levels in material life. And we must give that up by purification of the heart. But then, before giving that up, one must know what causes this attachment and aversion in this world. What's the cause? Krishna says to Arjuna, you must do your duty and not do the duty of others. You must do your spiritual duty. But Arjuna says to Krishna, I want to act according to your instruction, attachment and aversion. But I'm very attached to Bhishmadev. And I'm averse of killing him. And Krishna says, you must give that up. So Krishna, what is this force? This force, or this, that forces me to act according to attachment and aversion. So what is conditioned life? Acting to attachment and aversion. That's conditioned life. And that's why we are suffering. And Arjuna is asking, what is the cause of that, Krishna? What is this force? It's stronger than me? I cannot overcome that? So what is Krishna's answer?
Abhyas and Abhyas Vairag.
In Bhagvat Gita,
Practice and detachment to overcome that.
that's nice, but that's to overcome it. But what's the cause?
Lust and
Ahankar.
anger.
Kama isha koda isha ratsikuna sabha masana manapatna vityanamaya vaina. The cause of this attachment and aversion is the mode of passion, born of wrath. Passion, wanting to enjoy the body. That is the cause. Lust. Lust is the cause. And how can we overcome this lust? First, what's the effect of lust on us, on our consciousness? The consciousness comes from the soul. The conscious is polluted by this lust. If it's polluted by this lust, what's the result? Ahankar, yeah, you identify with the body.
Anger. Anger. When you don't satisfy your lust, it turns into anger.
That That's true. That's the process of developing lust. But we are speaking of the effects of lust.
We want to be controllers.
Hmm?
We want to be controllers.
That all happens later. I'm just repeating what Krishna says in Bhagvat Gita. Avitam jnanam etena jnanina nityavarnam kamrupena kontina dushprana nalena cha. He says, that is the answer. Avitam, covering. Jnanam etena. What is this jnanam etena, the eternal knowledge? It's the eternal knowledge that we are a spirit soul, not a body, a servant of Krishna. And Krishna says Avritam is covered. Lust makes you identify with the body. That's the cause that we are misidentified with the body. That's Avritam jnanam etna jnanina nityavarnam kamu rupena kaunteya. This kama, this lust, duspurana nalenasha, can never be, this lust can never be satisfied. Someone was there who is born here before 1970? Like that? No? No one? One? Yeah, one? Okay. Okay. Well, what did the Rolling Stones say? Mick Jagger, you don't know the Rolling Stones?
You can
Yeah.
know.
You ain't get satisfaction. You cannot get satisfaction in this world. It's not a teacher of spirituality, but anyway, that's one thing he understood. You can never get satisfaction in the world. The more you try the more you try to satisfy this lust, the more you feel miserable. And that's reality. But then, how can we get rid of this lust? What's the next step? Krishna says, Kamish Kodi Ratchaguna Samudbha Masna Manapapna Vityam Iya Varnam. Says, this lust is the greatest enemy. Arjuna is a military man. He's a military man. And he hears about an enemy, but doesn't a military man thinks if he hears about an enemy? How to kill him? But can you kill an enemy and you don't know where he is? So he wants to know where is the enemy and how can I get rid of it? And Krishna says this lust, which causes this attachment and aversion in our life, is in the body, in the senses, in the mind, in the intelligence, that Arjuna is asking, yes, Krishna, but now I know where the enemy is, but how can I kill him? Well, Krishna says, to kill him, first you must know what is higher than the object of the senses. What is higher?
Mind.
The senses.
Senses. Mind.
And higher than the senses?
Mind.
The mind. Higher than the mind? Intelligence. Higher than the intelligence? The soul. Now, what is conditioned life? Conditioned life means the object of the senses has the senses are attracted on the object of the senses. That's beautiful. That's you see an advertisement for a new car, a new iPhone. Yes, become attracted. The mind becomes attracted, and the mind says, "Yes, that looks good. Let's go for it." And then the intelligence start to make plans. Have I sufficient money? And then it's executed. So it means the senses are controlling the mind, and the mind is controlling the intelligence. That's called madness. That's madness. Who should be in control? No, the soul. How can, because we are the soul. And how can the soul get control? The soul needs the intelligence to control the mind. So Krishna says the soul must first receive intelligence, how to act as a spirit soul. Knowledge how to act as a spirit soul. How is this knowledge called? Knowledge how to act as a spirit soul? It's transcendental knowledge. Transcendental knowledge. So the intelligence, we need to feed the intelligence with transcendental knowledge. Knowledge how to act as a soul and not as the body. What is the next chapter called in the Bhagvat Gita after the third? Transcendental knowledge. Why does Krishna give transcendental knowledge? So that our intelligence can be enlightened with how to act as a spirit soul. And what happens if we hear, like today we hear transcendental knowledge? What happens with the soul? If there is the right understanding and attitude, it becomes attached. It says, do that, attached. And then the intelligence will engage the mind and the senses in the service of Krishna. And that is, when we do that, we become purified, we are on the path of liberation. So these are the basics. That's basic Bhagavad Gita. So we should understand this basic. And then we can understand the evil of this attachment and aversion. And I want to speak because to get rid of this attachment and aversion, it requires a lot of spiritual education and practice. But I want to speak about one thing today. Because if we develop transcendental knowledge and we act in devotional service, acting in devotional service means acting according to this transcendental knowledge, acting as a spirit soul. If we act in that way, we will gradually become purified. And this purification means that we will develop divine qualities. 16th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, first verses, Krishna speaks about divine qualities. the qualities of the soul become manifest again. Abhayam sattva samsudir jnana yoga vyavastiti samadhamas, and so on. That 3 verses full of transcendental qualities. And we should all develop these qualities. So, how can you know that you are becoming free from this attachment and aversion? How can you know?
These qualities develop.
Yeah, you develop these spiritual qualities. And one of these qualities is ksama. What does ksama mean? Hmm? No.
Shama
is forgive.
Yeah, it's close by that. It's sama, ksama. Ksama means forgiveness. Because many times that it's Prabhupada makes in the purport, because he speaks about ksama and forgiveness in the 10th chapter, verses 3 and 4, and in the 16th chapter, verse 1 to 3. In the 10th chapter, Krishna gives a list of all qualities which he had created, which come from him, spiritual qualities. And also, 16th chapter, Ksama is mentioned. And there Prabhupada says, one should forgive others' minor offenses, because it's essential for opening our heart to receive Krishna's mercy. If we don't forgive others, we cannot come in contact with Krishna in our heart. It's not possible. That even if we avoid the 10 offenses, if we are not cultivating forgiveness, we will unable to chant the pure name of Krishna or experience the blissful ecstasy that arises of coming in contact with the pure name. That in 10th canto, chapter 4, Srila Prabhupada describes the forgiving nature of Devaki towards Kamsa. Kamsa had killed mercilessly her 6 firstborn children. 6 children killed mercilessly before her eyes, one after another, immediately after their births. So this is from Krishna book. Devaki sees her brother approaching. Kamsa is approaching her after seeing Durga. Is praying in a very meek attitude. And Devaki says to her brother, "My dear brother, you have killed so many of my children who were just born. They were shining like the sun. But that is not your fault. You have been advised by demoniac friends to kill my children." So after Kamsa started to feel remorseful for killing Devaki's sons. And he sought forgiveness. And he said, "My dear sister, Devaki, and brother-in-law Vasudeva, kindly excuse me for my atrocities which I have committed against you. I'm very poor-hearted, and you are so great-hearted. So take compassion upon me and excuse me." So when Devaki saw her brother so repentant, she also became pacified and forgot all his atrocious activities against her children. Vasudeva also, forgetting all past incidents, spoke smilingly, with his brother-in-law. Can you imagine someone who kills your 6 children before your eyes and they just forgive him? That takes an exceptional level of spiritual maturity to forgive someone for such an unimaginable act of murdering one's own children. But why is forgiveness so important for us? We chant the holy name of God. Because without forgiveness, the mind will become ensnared, will dwell on this duality of raga and dvesha, desire and hate. And you will not be able to think of Krishna. You think about this person has said that to me, or this person has done that to me, or this is unfair. It requires also a lot of spiritual knowledge that it's all a result of thinking we are the controller and the actor in this world. But Krishna says, Prakatikriya gun karma sarvasankara vimudatma kartamiti manyate. He says, no, everything is done by material nature, not by you. You think yourself the controller. If something bad happens to you, it's because you have done something bad to someone else in previous life. This life is only a life of reactions of what we did before. And Krishna looks, oh, you have done that to this person before, now you get reaction, let's see how the person reacts. And mostly, when in conditioned life, it intenses this raga and dvesha. So something happens they don't like, so that it's unfair. I will retaliate. And there you go, you make it deeper, that's all, this attachment and aversion. We are the prisoners of our own attachment and aversion. Therefore, to solve this, we must be educated in spiritual attachment and aversion. Bhagvat Swami says there are 6 things we should not do in devotional service, and 6 things we should do. Understand what's favorable for devotional service and what is unfavorable for devotional service. What's favorable for acting as a spirit soul and what's unfavorable for acting. That's another attachment and aversion we have to create. That's spiritual. But yes, we must learn to forgive. Otherwise, if we don't forgive and we see the faults in others, we will, in addition, we will develop these same faults in our heart. Are there any Christians here or were Christian before? No. Because that's also explained in the Bible. It's not only in the Bhagvat Gita that Krishna, in the Bible, it is said that and when you stand praying, if you hold anything against anyone, forgive them, so that your Father in heaven may forgive your sins. So here, forgiveness is presented as a necessary step for spiritual connection, but that's much deeper explained in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita explains it's due to this attachment and aversion that you cannot concentrate your mind on Krishna. And these are the obstacles, Krishna said, paripantinon. And therefore we must always act according to transcendental instructions of Bhagvat Gita. This must become our lives. Before I do something, you must ask the question, will my spiritual master be pleased with it? It's the same as saying, would Krishna be pleased with it if I'm doing that? Is this the instruction of my Guru Maharaj? That forgiving becomes easy when one becomes humble, humility. A humble person thinks always the fault lies in me, not in the others. That we see when Jaya and Vijay were cursed by the 4 Kumaras at the gate of Vaikuntha, Lord Narayan came to the gate. And what did Lord Narayan says to the 4 Kumaras? Please forgive us, the fault lies in me. These are my servants, they acted on my behalf, it's my fault. Lord Narayan said, it's my fault. In the spiritual world, if something goes wrong, everyone says immediately it's my fault. What a wonderful world would we have. That's spiritual life. But in the material world, everyone thinks, no, the fault lies by the other, not with me. And there is disagreement, fight, and so on. But this is the material world. The material world is based on exploitation. Exploiting one another. Relations are based on exploiting one another. That you give, I take from you. That's material relationship. That spiritual relationship is how can I serve you? And forgiveness is important. To forgive, one must tolerate. Prabhupada said one must tolerate minor offenses. The first instruction of Bhagvat Gita, Matras Prasthakantia Sutta Dukadukada Agamapini Natyas Tam Sutiksha Svabhata. One must tolerate the happiness and distress in this world. Don't take all these things in this world so serious. It's very temporary. I said that many times. 50 years ago, I was a young boy living in a little village in Brussels. Today, when I go back there, nobody knows me anymore. All the people I knew are dead, gone. The culture is gone. The buildings are changed. Everything's changed, gone. But at that time, we had so many problems. We have the problems now. It's all very, very temporary. Should not take that so serious, all these things in this world. That whether you are dishonored or honored, we should become equal in that. It's for the body. It's temporary. That it doesn't make sense in an eternal perspective. Soon we are out of the body. What does it matter? The spiritual life means seeing from an eternal perspective. So the illusory energy is manifested to this desire and hate, raga and dvesha. It's there by accepting friends and enemies, thinking this is my enemy, he did that to me. That it's interesting. Yes, this desire and hate. That of course someone makes an offense towards you, and that may even be criminal. It's not that we let it go, but we understand the fault lies in reality in me. That this person may need correction, but the fault lies in me. That is the point. Not if someone abuses you, that there should not be action. the abuser is also sent by Krishna to abuse you, but the abuser wants to abuse. It's for us difficult to understand, but it is a fact that this raga and vesha is how the illusory energy works. And this raga and vesha makes us irreligious and truthful. Many times people go for a job and they don't tell the truth because otherwise they fear I don't have the job, right? It's out of attachment, all these things, that it happens. This is the illusory energy, the duality of desire and hate. A devotee means I become free from this duality and hate. And because deluded persons, they dwell in these dualities, dishonor and honor. They want honor or dishonor. They dwell on misery and happiness. But for a person engaged in devotional service, he feels satisfaction in the heart. The body may feel misery, but we feel happiness because we don't identify with the body. A liberated person does not identify with the body. He does not experience the happiness that comes into the mind as his happiness. He can, because he's not into the subtle body. He has reactivated the spiritual body. That requires deeper knowledge. That the Atma, Mahatmanastu Mamparta Devim Pragati Ashuta. A Mahatma is one who knows how to attach himself or connect himself attached to the spiritual energy. And that's the process of devotional service. The process to become attached to the spiritual energy. Therefore, if we have a good sadhana, sadhana is meant to attach us to them. We get spiritual strength. And then we can resist this attachment and aversion during the day if we have a good sadhana. If we don't have a good sadhana, we will dwell of this attachment and aversion. And that is the problem. It's clear?
Yes. And how to understand advancement in, again, all the qualities comes from the spiritual world, but advancement is there, how, like in the spiritual world, how that exists? Like how to...
All these qualities are in the soul. You have all these qualities, but they are overcovered by material consciousness, by subtle and a gross body. We have forgotten them. But we are like Hanuman. Hanuman forgot his power. He was trying to eat the sun and Indra gave him a slap, but he forgot his powers. We have forgotten our power. We have the power to transcend this duality. We have it. We have just to reawaken it by chanting the holy name, by performing devotional service. We will get the power again. And then we become a sthita prajna, Krishna says, one who is undisturbed by happiness and distress. And that's the first thing Krishna says in Bhagvat Gita. Dīnasmin chatāte dehe kaunam chauvam chātāte antarapaptirati astatranamuyati. You must tolerate all these changes of the body, from youth to old age and so on, and become a dhira, when with undisturbed is happiness and distress. And that means undisturbed by these dualities. And if you are undisturbed by these dualities, Yamina Vyatatantriya Purusham Purushashvak Agamap Samu Dukasram Dukam Swami tatvaya kalpate. If you are equal in happiness and distress, you are ready for liberation, Krishna says. And then you can chant and feel Krishna in your heart. But if you don't forgive, then at least sometimes it may be difficult to forgive. Persons may not be there anymore. Persons may be, it may be socially not wise to do it, but in your heart you should forgive, that the aversion goes. And when the aversion goes, you will feel more satisfied. It's important, that gives forgiveness. You had also a question?
Yes. Maharaj, I have a question. You was mentioning about Raga and Dvesha. We have an inclination, and the mind, the process of the mind is, I like this, I don't like this. It's always duality. And sometimes in our life, we have certain incidents which has some impression on in our mind, and we have always a prejudice for some people or for some certain things, and it always disturbs when those people or person comes in front of the life. And I know you mentioned that with the intelligence we can overcome, but by knowing all the things, that we should not have the duality, we should be forgiving. But still sometimes it bothers and you're not able to convince yourself that I should not have.
So what is the cause of Raga and Dvesha? We discussed. What is the cause? It's lust. So you must get rid of this lust, which causes this attachment and aversion. Give up material desires. In Krishna, in the second chapter, Arjuna Krishna tells about the sthitaprajna, one who is studying devotional service and then undisturbed. And Arjuna is asking, how can I recognize him? How does he walk? What does he do? Krishna said, Prajati atakamam sarva manoratam. I forgot the word, but he's saying sthitaprajna is one who has given up material desires. So how to give up material desires? That process is called anartha nivritti, the process of giving up material desires. To come to anartha nivritti, first you must do sadhu sangha, associate with devotees, especially advanced devotees. It starts with shraddha factually, that some faith, which comes also from association of devotees, or reading Bhagvat Gita. Then association of devotees, sadhu sangha, and from them you learn bhajana kriya, how to perform devotional service. And when you are studying the performance of devotional service, giving up offenses, you do it with the right motivation, only to please Krishna, nothing wanting in return. And you chant the holy names, and you follow the four relative principles. Then gradually this anartha nivritti will start. If you do that for 3, 5, 6 years, your heart will become purified. Usually a process of 30 years. But every day you advance. Every day you come out of this duality. So it's not something that happens overnight. 30 years ago, 35 years ago when I started, someone would say something nasty to me and I would be disturbed. Disturbed for months sometimes, years, by that. Now 30 years later, when that happens, I'm still disturbed for 5 seconds. And I let it go.
Yes.
That's the difference. That's the spiritual power. That we have to cultivate that. And if you have a good sadhana, even in the process, you will stop that attachment and aversion may be there, but you have the spiritual power not to act upon it. And that's a great thing. You are not creating further problems for yourself anymore. That's because it has all to do, forgiving we say is compassion. Compassion means starts with your own self, for your own soul. Have compassion. The soul is entangled in this world. And the process of devotional service, as explained in Bhagvat Gita, is meant to liberate us from that. As long as we are in that process, we are protected. And, good? Okay, I think it's getting late. We are still 2 questions. The 2 last one, yes.
So, you just mentioned that aversion might still be there in your mind, but you want to just let it go and not to create further problem yourself because it is going to impede your daily sadhana and all other things. Is that a correct understanding?
The correct understanding is explained in 270 of Bhagavad Gita as the ocean, as rivers come into the ocean, the ocean is not disturbed by the rivers entering into the ocean. In the same way, the one who is advanced in Krishna consciousness, all this attachment and aversion may come up into his mind, but he let it go, and it's not disturbed by it. Yes, because this attachment and aversion are material desires. Material desires are coming from our previous lives, mostly. They are in our subtle body. This attachment and aversion of our previous life is in our subtle body, in the form of samskaras, impressions. And Krishna knows that we had this attachment and aversion, these desires in previous lives. And sometimes he gets that from our subconsciousness and brings it in our mind. And this attachment and aversion comes up into the mind. But the devotee who is advanced, he has learned to observe the mind. I'm not the mind. He sees the material desire coming and he looks at it and says, oh, Krishna says, this is a material desire. It will cause further attachment and aversion. And then I will suffer. Because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Ye samspasya bhuga dukkha yona evta atyantvante kaunti anati shura mate buddha. The 522. If one tries to enjoy and exploit things in this world, then one will suffer. So the devotee observes his mind and says, I let it go. It takes 5 seconds. If one is purified in heart. Because even if you are purified in heart, this attachment and aversion will enter your mind. But you don't identify with the mind, you let it go. Does that help?
Yeah, but one point in this is on a precautionary ground. I mean, just to, so that it doesn't come to you and affect you. And it could be a person, it could be a place, it could be an object, anything. You have it in your mind that it can create issues, but you just either stay away or
Yeah, with the spiritual power. I give you, I can give you an example of my own experience. Well, it was 2002 or something. I was with Prahlad Maharaj. I was traveling in Russia. I was in Krasnodar. And the devotees had a festival there. And they gave me a room with someone else in a hotel room. And this person was a Prabhupada disciple. And he was of the opinion that Prabhupada had been poisoned. A very heavy thing. And that during the last months that he was with us. But who gave him all the food? It was my Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Maharaj. Indirectly he was saying that my Guru Maharaj murdered Prabhupada. That's quite a heavy thing. So I asked Prahlad Maharaj, how do I deal with it? He said, just take a polite distance. But then, at the festival, they put me in the same room with him. But anyway, what I did was, I was only in the room to sleep at night, and that's all. I took a polite distance. So you have to take precautions not to cultivate that again, because we may have a good sadhana, but material energy is very powerful. So we follow Vaishnava etiquettes, that's also helpful. We need a lot of help there. And I think Prahlad Maharaj gave me very good advice and I followed it. Yeah. Okay?
yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, you talk about to please Krishna, we have to see everyone part and parcel of Lord. But this false ego is from many millions of birth. So how we can eliminate this, that everyone is part and parcel of Krishna? And the second question is regarding the propriety.
One question at the same time. I'm a simple man. I cannot remember, my memory is going. So your first question was, say it again.
Everyone is part and parcel of Krishna. So, but it's very difficult to believe that because we see everyone on the bodily platform because of our false ego.
Yeah, that's because our consciousness is polluted. That our intelligence is polluted. We need to wash our brainwash. Wash, that Prabhupada says, wash it. But how do you purify this polluted intelligence? How do you purify this polluted mind? That you purify the mind by man-mana, thinking of Krishna. Thinking of the holy name is also Krishna. How do we purify the intelligence?
Spiritual knowledge.
Transcendental knowledge. Hearing transcendental knowledge. Hearing Bhagavatam every day. That is the medicine. How to become free from lust. That Maharaj Parikshit says in 10.1.4, Nirvitatasya upagyamanat vavastakshotra manobiramat. That Nirvitatasya, one can become free from lust. But to become free from lust, vavasadak, you must take a medicine. The medicine of Shotva Manobiramat, of always hearing Krishna Katha. And by that, we become free from dust. That's the medicine. Prabhupada said many times, we should take that medicine. Every morning we should hear Bhagavatam and discuss with advanced devotees. And in the evening, Bhagavad Gita. Are we taking that medicine? And even if we, interesting, at the Ukraine festival, someone asked Advaita Maharaj, but I'm hearing the Bhagavatam and so on, but I'm still not purified. I've still this attachment and aversion. And Maharaj said, you have to take the medicine. If you are still troubled by it, increase the dose of the medicine. So always hearing about Krishna, and always hearing this transcendental knowledge. I'm doing that for 30 years, every day hearing, studying, hearing, and sharing with others. But I hurt many years. I taught with Prahlad Nanda Maharaj. I was 10 years in Vrindavan hearing from Bhujan Prabhu the Bhagavatam. I heard so much. And that changes your heart. But we have to make the endeavor that you can read every day Bhagavatam, 10 pages every day. In 4 years you have read the whole Bhagavatam. But make the endeavor and study Bhagavad Gita. I know very little of Bhagavad Gita. I know maybe 200 verses by heart. But I'm reading Bhagavad Gita every day. Every day one chapter. And every day 1 to 3 purports. And by that you start in the beginning it doesn't make sense. After 30 years it starts really to make sense. You see all the connections and why Krishna says what at which moment. I can tell you about Bhagavad Gita, every chapter what's there and why Krishna says. And I know of many purports where what Prabhupada says in the purports. But that doesn't come overnight. You have to work on it. And make Krishna the priority in your life. Not your job, not your family. Krishna is the priority. But you must dovetail your job and your family in Krishna consciousness. It doesn't have to be done. Because Krishna is your only friend. All this family and this job, that will soon be gone. And time goes quick. Yesterday I was a young boy. Now we are 50 years later. It goes very quick. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj said, Kamaraj said, Prachyo Bhagavan Dharman Bhagavatami, Durlabam Manasam Chamyam Tapriyal Duruvam Artadam. We should learn this Krishna consciousness from the age of 5 years. How old is he?
4.
4, okay. He's already started, that's good. Good, thank you very much. Anything else? I think we can end, it's 8 o'clock. We have a next session. When is our next session?
Tomorrow.